Welcome to Party-Free. Today we are going to discuss about the Greek city-states or polis. A polis was a typical structure of a community in the ancient Greek world. A polis consisted of an urban center, often fortified and with a sacred center built on a natural acropolis or harbor, which controlled a surrounding territory or chora of land. The term polis has therefore been translated as city-state, as there was typically only one city, and because an individual polis was independent from other polis in terms of political, judicial, legal, religious and social institutions and practices. Each polis was in effect a state. Like a state, each polis was also involved in international affairs, both with other polis and non-Greek states in the areas of trade, political alliances and wars. Other cultures had a similar social and political structure, notably the Babylonians, Etruscan and Phoenicians, and the latter are believed to be the originators of the polis as a communal unit. The polis emerged from the Dark Ages, which followed the fall of the Mycenaean civilization in Greece, and by the 8th century BCE, a significant process of urbanization had begun. There were eventually over 1,000 polis in Greek world, but among the most important were Athens, Sparta, Corinth, Thebes, Syracuse, Aegina, Rhodes, Argos, Eretria, and Elis. The biggest was Sparta, although with some 8,500 square kilometers of territory. This was exceptionally large, and most polis were small in size. However, polis possessed significant naval fleets, which also allowed them to control wide areas of territory across the Aegean. It is all hilly and shaded and has many springs. The city is well provided with public buildings, gymnasia, temples, theaters, pictures, statues, and an agora, which is excellently situated for all trading purposes. Instead of differences, there were several features common to the majority of polis. Most of the population of polis lived in the city rather than being spread across small farm communities in the surrounding territory, and the heart of the urban area was usually a sacred space with one or more temples. From the 8th century BCE, these were almost always the most impressive buildings in the polis, but sometimes they were separate from the urban area proper, perhaps to take advantage of more impressive natural locations or because those locations had a particular religious significance. From the 7th century BCE, the city was usually fortified with a city wall, Sparta being a notable exception, and the agora space was created for civic and commercial activity. From the 5th century BCE, many polis displayed evidence of town planning with specific areas of the city designated for private, public, and religious functions. Many polis also has a designated space for public assembly, either for political purposes or also for entertainment. For example, a theater and a gymnasium. In practice, whatever the political system adopted, political power was dominated by a few aristocratic families. A fundamental idea common to most polis was that all male citizens had, at least theoretically, equal political rights based on ownership of property. In practice, whatever the political system adopted, tyranny, oligarchy, or democracy, political power was dominated by a few aristocratic families who held for themselves all the important positions in the polis, such as membership of elite councils, magistracies, and the higher military ranks. Also, within these citizen bodies, there were richer and poorer citizens. Over time, and especially following the introduction of money, the richer class, whose status had once been based on land ownership, began to accumulate wealth from investments and loans they made, in effect increasing the difference between rich and poor. Apart from male citizens, the social groups which made up Greek society also included women, children, slaves, freed slaves, laborers, and foreigners. These could make up as much as 90% of the total polis population, and so had to be included and involved in the polis in one way or another if it was to function as a cohesive community. One way of doing this was to create a social identity which differentiated a polis from all others. This identity was achieved in various ways, such as the creation of a communal space where people could mix and socialize, for example, the agora. Another was the practicing of polis-specific festivals and celebrations on specific dates in the year, usually of a religious nature, which also reinforced the idea that the polis had a unique, often mythical founder and patron deity. Other more practical indicators of the polis as a separate unit were boundary makers, written law codes, coinage using specific imagery related to the polis history. For example, the owl on Athenian coins representing Athena, the city's patron. Wars where soldiers fought a common enemy, often to settle disputed territorial claims, and the production of distinctive goods, for example, Corinthian pottery. A common community history or civic memory was reinforced and commemorated in public statues of local gods, leaders, benefactors, and sporting champions. Finally, the polis founded colonies abroad, especially in Magna Graecia and Ionia, and became a mother city, and provided both a symbolic transfer of identity, for example, a fire from the city hearth, and a practical transfer of people and community skills, for example, potters and metal workers. Although polis were then each a unique cultural and political unit, the common features mentioned here and other factors such as language and broader religious beliefs meant that there were some feelings of connection between polis. Like-minded polis often made political alliances for mutual protection, and examples include the Delian and Peloponnesian leagues. A wider Hellenic attitude between polis was manifested in two particular instances: wars against non-Greek enemies, for example, the Persian Wars in the 5th century BCE, and pan-Hellenic festivals such as the Olympic Games held at Olympia every 4 years. In the Roman period, the polis continued as a functioning unit but was subordinate to a wider imperial apparatus of Roman-defined provinces. Polis therefore became less significant in terms of independent political power but continued to be significant as providers of civic pride based on fine republic buildings and the cultivation of arts and sciences. So this is the end of our today's discussion. Subscribe our YouTube channel, like our video and comment. Listen to our podcast episodes. Follow our official Facebook page, Twitter handle and Instagram. For any query, feel free to mail us. For details, see the description.